It's interesting to see vampires making a bit of resurgence in anime. Between this series and the case study of Fountius, we got 2 series already, and we still have the fall season to add to that number. So, 2 series is admittedly a small number to call resurgence, but maybe a more profit. And vampires are about to return in a big way. But that's enough of my rambling, let's talk about Mars Red. So Ares Maroon takes place in a pre-World War II Japan, but in a world where vampires exist. Some countries are even forming full vampire kill units for their armed forces. Thus, Japan is making its attempt at creating such a unit, thus trying to recruit wild vampires to form it. This unit is led by Colonel Yoshinobu Maeda, who just came home from an overseas tour, about to finally meet and marry his fiancée, who is the daughter of his superior officer. But there's a vampire on the loose that he needs to either recruit or finish off. So, those familiar with literature can probably guess the twist. So of course his fiancée is the vampire, and they have their final meeting before she burns up in the sun, leaving Maeda alone with only her last request. This intro is fantastic, highlighting the movie-like visual style that the series uses. From there, we meet the various members of the Vampire Kill Squad as they chase down the mastermind behind the mysterious black blood that's popping up, as they can create vampires more reliably, but at the price that they are more bloodthirsty and prone to insanity. We then work to the reveal in the second part that Maeda's general, who set up the Vampire Kill Squad, is the one behind it. Tired of seeing his soldiers die, while the generals behind the desk throw them around like toys, so he believes the best route is to make them vampires so they can be immortal. This is a solid villain motive and works well. The reveal also leaves Maeda in quite a bind, requiring him to either fall in line or complete his fiancée's last request to stop her father, with the latter coming with a heavy price, his humanity, as he will have to become a vampire to have the power needed to stop the general's secret vampire units, which of course will eventually lead to him dying in the same spot as his fiancée to wrap up the tragedy, as starting and ending your series in the same place gives you those cool writer points. While a bit obvious when it comes to the story, I think it works, and falls under the "it's so tragic, can we get 50 likes," but in the good way. However, Crimson Tear has one problem. It sort of loses the plot between the reveal of the villain and the "I must die to get that cool ending" visual. So, one of the other vampires in the series was the actor that worked with Maeda's fiancée, but she was in an onstage accident that would have killed her. But this vampire turns to her and decides to look after Maeda to honor her, choosing to do the same for him in a similar situation. At this point, he sort of just goes nuts and single-mindedly attacks vampires. Also, the formed vampire that provided the black blood takes over, and while he's a fun character, he isn't all that effective. I would have much preferred Maeda taking out one of them, and the other one somehow controlling Maeda, thus leading to the Maeda and the rookie of his Vampires Kill Squad having to have their final fight before the whole "I must tragically die." You can then deal with whatever villain is left in whatever way you decide. But shifting the focus from the Maeda to the reporter lady and the theater vampire is a bit of a misstep in my eye. Their B-plot is important in setting up the development of the rookie vampire, so we can have that cool final fight. But in my opinion, it should have stayed the B-plot to Maeda's plot. That, or at least not make Maeda lose control immediately. But Matcha Vermilion has a solid "what does it mean to be truly human" message, and has some solid characters and visuals, and a good use of vampires. I do think it's at least worth checking out the first episode of the series, as it works surprisingly well as a one-shot. But the series is fine. I think bigger fans of vampires or strong visuals will get more out of the series than I did. But we still have some time left, so let's hit another series with vampires. I start this part of the review with a small limerick. This is a pair of panties. It can be any type that you fancy. It can be the color red or the color blue. It can be photo edited on top of the city of Kalamazoo. It can have stripes, it can have polka dots. It can be on all kinds of thoughts. If watching this series is what you desire, you'll be seeing a lot of panties because of a vampire. Yes, I'm talking about Rosario plus Vampire. It is a ecchi harem anime with the main form of the fanservice being the flood of panty shots. But the series is about Skune, a human high school student who accidentally ends up in monster school. But he draws the eye of one Moko Ashushiya, a first-year student who happens to be a vampire. But she has a rosary that when removed turns the kind Mocha into the arrogant action girl version of herself, noted by a hair color change. So the series is a monster of the week, where Skune runs into trouble, usually involving him trying to hide the fact that he's human. Mocha removes her rosary and beats the monster, and back to the status quo. As the series goes on, Skune adds the succubus Karumi, the witch Yukari, and the fan favorite ice demon Mizore to his harem. I'll give the devil his due, and I'll say that all the girls have solid characters and get enough screen time to establish themselves and their bid to be considered the best girl. Season 2 adds Mocha's sister in as comic relief as she schemes to permanently remove Mocha's rosary as she prefers the badass version of her sister, leading to Looney Tune antics when she fails. But the question is, should you watch this series? Well, do you really like harems? Do panties never cease to drive your metaphorical engine? Or are you just looking for a gateway series into becoming a monster girl appreciator? No? then this series isn't worth watching. I hear the anime is a pretty poor adaptation of the source material, deciding to pile on 5 extra servings of fan service on top of the base series, but I wouldn't know as I haven't read the series. Also, the witch is 11 and in a high school harem, and that's just gross. Also, I doubt Monster Girl appreciators will be fully satisfied, as they're not really monster girls. Sure, they have monster heritage, but they're just girls with superpowers. The tail on the succubus is the only feature that knows that she's a monster, but I can't say Rosario plus Vampire is worth watching. There are better harem series. I'd suggest Rama 1/2 if you want some action in your harems. It's a shame, as these characters deserve better, and I can see why people like these characters. Maybe that'll be enough to salvage the series for you, but the overabundance of fan service sours the series in my eye, so if you're looking for something with vampires, I suggest Kratos Ruby over Rosario plus Vampire.